Episode of the Everblack podcast is brought to you by Deathwish, Hotrods and Kustoms. Check out their Instagram for all their new t-shirts, caps, beanies, cups, and the all-new Atomic Death lineup.
Thanks very much for joining us on the Everblack podcast.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Look, I wanted to start with saying, Australia's a really new market for you guys to be in. I mean, seeing as that, you're really well established over in Europe, and you've got, really good fan base, a lot of people who know who you are and what you do. You're coming to a country now that doesn't necessarily have that kind of recognition with you. How are you feeling about how you guys are going to work with the Australian audiences and how it's going to play out?
I'm not worried at all. I mean, if it comes 3 people or 3,000, doesn't matter. We're going to go out and do our thing, And super excited to come down for the first time and meet all the people. I mean, there's been some talking and requests from Australia over the years, and happy to finally come down.
Oh, fantastic. Well, so, there's been a lot of false starts for this tour, obviously, over the last couple of years, where we've had some pretty shocking situations. I mean, how did it actually come about that we've gotten you to come down here?
We got we got the offer to come down from Silverback Touring, and we were super happy to take him up on the offer. And that's basically it. I mean, me and Eric Grommel, the last singer, we went down and played an acoustic set in 2016, I think it was, in Melbourne. And that kind of left you wanting more. So there was an easy decision to just, let's do it.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds really cool. And you're bringing down Crazy Lixx as well, which, another thing that I'm quite excited about, having been a Crazy Lixx fan for quite some time. How did you rope those guys into joining you? I know that half the band were already down here when everything went kind of pear-shaped last time. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it was the promoter that wanted it. But I mean, we played together a bunch of times in Sweden. We're good friends. Crazy Lixx, a great live band, and I mean, I'm gonna be excited to see them every night as well. So,
absolutely, I don't blame you either. Now, as I said, given that you're coming down here for the first time, if and when, because we all know it'll happen, you guys get bailed up in a bar by someone asking you who you are. How would you best go about describing who H.E.A.T are?
We are a hard rock, heavy metal, melodic band from Europe, from Sweden. It's hard to describe, it's easy to say we sound kind of like a heavier sort of Europe, if you will. But I mean, we're definitely inspired by the early 90s sort of heavy metal, rock, melodic rock era mainly. But, we take influences from everything, like pop music and blues, whatever, So, but I don't have a good punchline to describe it. I just realized.
You don't have to think of one, mate. It goes down well. I tell you, I quite often describe certain bands. So there's one band in particular I'm a big fan of down here. They're called the Mark of Cain. They really haven't gone much further outside of Australia, but I often describe them as think Joy Division meets a great big punch in the face.
Okay, right.
So if you were to sort of translate that to how you feel about H.E.A.T, what would you say?
I think it's really like we are a 80s, early 90s heavy metal band with the sound of the 21st century.
Okay, and going along those lines, then. You guys, the latest album, Force Majeure, it sounds huge. A really well produced, really slick sounding album. How well does that?
Thanks,
no worries. How well does that sort of go across to the live setting, where things can go a lot more wrong, but it's, getting that huge sound in a live setting isn't always the easiest thing to do. How is it translating?
I think our albums are meant to be sounding like you're standing 1 centimeter from the PA and like blasting. It's like it's super loud and compressed. It's like you really want that live vibe. So I guess if you're standing without earplugs at like front of house at the concert, that's how I want the album to sound, even at low volumes. But yeah, I mean, we have a good sound engineer and he mixes us very well. So I think, I mean, no one has ever complained about the H.E.A.T sound live so far.
Fantastic. And with that, do you, I mean, for guitars and bass, are you finding that moving over to a more digital setup is any help with that, rather than lugging around great big amps? Are you guys moving across to, say, Axe FX and those kind of things now?
Oh yeah, we do it. Dave's doing quad cortex and at the moment, and Jimmy's been using sound amps forever. And I mean, it's so much easier, especially if you play smaller clubs. It's like you don't have you can never really get rid of the drums and the cymbals. But
we try, but it doesn't work.
Exactly. Our sound engineer is always like, "Oh, I fucking hate cymbals." So, but
that's why you don't let drummers
but yeah,
sing.
But it's easier to have everything in the box, and we bring our own mixing system, and you have your own monitors. You can set the levels yourself, so you're like super happy every night. So it's easy these days.
Yeah, and
so it's basically just drums that are live.
Yeah, and you would have seen that change over the past 15 years of being a band, from lugging the big heads to actually being able to rely on digital technology to make your tours a lot easier. Has that also brought down the costs to getting yourselves on the road?
I mean, definitely. I mean, it helps so much with doing clients to have a lightweight gear and everything sorted. So we have the same setup in the rehearsal that we bring on tour.
Yeah.
So we can just you know how it's going to sound, and our front of house knows how it's going to sound more or less. So I mean, it's definitely helped a lot, rather than coming to a new venue with different amps every night. And Dave, he would spend hours to just tweaking the sounds. Now he knows how it is. So it's way easier.
Bring it in, plug it in, off you go. Happy days.
There it
is.
Now
look, your previous singer Eric had left the band a little while back now to join Skid Row. How much of an impact did it actually have on you guys that he's actually gone away to join such a well-known and respected band?
Well, first of all, he didn't really leave H.E.A.T to join Skid Row. He left H.E.A.T, and then he also that was back in 2020, and then he had leukemia for whole 2021 that he battled. And then he was asked by the end of 2021 to join Skid Row. After he had sworn to himself if he would made it through the cancer, he would never stop singing. And he got the offer to join one of his favorite bands, which is a fucking fairy tale in its own. But yeah, sorry, what was the question?
How much of an impact did it have on you guys? Has it actually brought you a little bit more of the spotlight? Okay, we've got to check out Eric's old band now from Skid Row fans.
I guess it's hard to measure, but I guess H.E.A.T's going to be mentioned everywhere in interviews, and like what Eric ex H.E.A.T is going to say, and obviously for America that could be really good for us, where we haven't been touring either a lot.
Well, speaking of which, have you got much in the pipeline for a tour in America or South America?
Not really, and I can't believe that we don't, because it would be awesome to go there and just experience being on the road in South America and in the States and even Canada. Would be amazing experience, and we would love to do that. I mean, we played Monsters Rock Cruise twice. I didn't make the last one because I got COVID one day before. So I couldn't fly out. That sucked. But yeah, I mean, it would be great for us to go there just to check it out,
Absolutely, and if you're going to go there, you may as well go for a decent length of time as well. Would you find that hard? I mean, it sounds like you've got a family. Everyone seems to have their own lives as well. How hard do you find that as a touring band now?
Well, it's always going to be hard, you know, on the family, and you gotta ask grandma and granddad a couple of times to, hey, can you take him, you know. But we've also said that we don't want to do, you know, super long runs, because I mean, if we had been like, if we were at this level in our early 20s, that would be awesome, because then we will be out all the time, and you know, we'll make a decent living. Yeah, yeah, but we could make a decent living out of it as well. But you know, now it's like we want to be out maybe 3 tops 4 weeks in, you know, in a row, and then it's gonna be back home for a couple of weeks at least, you know, to give support to family.
Yeah, and you mentioned there that, you know, you could make a decent living. Is it more that H.E.A.T is your passion project, and it's not necessarily where your main source of income comes from at this point?
I mean, at this point, it's like it's getting there, but like through the years, I mean, it's a struggle to get like a band going, especially if you play a dated genre. But I mean, now at least in Europe here, we're making. I mean, we're doing pretty good, and but like if you were to tour all the time, you could probably make a pretty good living from it. But like I'm producing other bands as well, so I love being in the studio and working with them. So we have other stuff going on around H.E.A.T as well. So it's not all. We don't want to do like all touring, because that's going to be too hard on us.
Yeah, for sure. And you're not kids anymore, like you said. So
exactly.
Sort of leading on from that as well is, in the last couple of years, it has been. I mean, touring music has been shot to pieces, and the whole infrastructure around it has kind of been destroyed. And it obviously had an impact on you guys. And I do notice that there's a number of other projects that you've personally got going on what seems to be the last couple of years. Has that been your way of being able to maintain what you're doing and, you know, maintain that passion by getting in the studio and doing those other projects whilst we've all been locked down?
I mean, definitely. I mean, it's because I'm overly creative, and I write so much more music than I can really get into H.E.A.T, and that's why I kind of started this. Eddie, kan du chilla en sekund? Vill du ha ett sugrör? He wants a straw to his glass of milk.
Get it right, mate. You got to have the straw.
You got it.
Then he can blow bubbles and tip it everywhere.
Exactly. He's 5, so he can behave.
Oh, I've got a 5-year-old as well. I know all about it.
Okay. There you go. But yeah, that's why I kind of started New Horizon, which was like, because I want to get these heavier tracks out, and because I'm coming from this power metal background. Really, I grew up in early 2000s with this European wave. We had Hammerfall, you know, Ed Guy. I love Iron Maiden, like, and obviously more 80s. But so I really want to get that out. And the other like sort of projects I've like the Crown project, I'm actually just a producer of the band, really. But they kind of, well, can you be in the videos? I'm like, okay, I can be in the videos. They're like, can you be on a photo shoot? Well, sure, okay, I can be in a photo shoot. So
You're in the band.
I'm in the band, but I'm not officially in the band, you know. It's like, it's a weird situation, but it is what it is. And it's fun. And the new Crown album, and we're gonna do the final mixes next week. It's really good. So that's what makes it worth. And I mean, of course, it's a source of income as well. So.
Yeah. And how much is growing up in a place like Stockholm, which is like, I mean, it's one of the epicenters of great rock and roll over the past 20 or 30 years now. How much of an influence has that had on your direction and, you know, the way that the band came together?
You know, we're from the same little suburb outside Stockholm as Europe, so that's obviously had an impact on us. We went to the same high school and, you know, school. It's like you always had this, Europe, which is like Sweden's biggest music export ever. You know, Final Countdown. You know.
Oh, absolutely. There's not a person on this earth that doesn't know Final Countdown.
Exactly. So it's like that. Obviously, being from this small, like, oh, you walk around as a kid, it's like, oh, is that where Joey Tempest lived? You know, there were these rumors and everything, which was kind of magical to us. Like, and then when we discovered like the 80s music, it kind of fit Europe into the whole like genre as a whole, and like, oof, there's so much more like to find and explore. And yeah, so cool when you start listening to like Bon Jovi or whatever, you know, and started ripping everything off. But in the end, we kind of made our own thing, I think.
But you guys also have, you know, bands like the Helicopters, the Backyard Babies, and all those kind of more garage leaning bands that, you know, it all blends into the big a wider picture that Scandinavia has an abnormally large amount of fantastic bands. What would you put that down to?
I get asked that all the time. I don't know, something in the water, but I think it's probably like a proud heritage, and like there's a lot of good melodies coming from Sweden. I don't know why. Maybe it's our folk songs, whatever, but it comes from somewhere. And obviously, I mean, we're very inspired by, like, and influenced by, at least in the recent years, by America, you know. So we're like, it's kind of integrated into our culture, like in influence. So I guess it's easy. And I guess America is still like on a global market, like the leader of the cultural, you know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to music, and the Billboard is still like, whoa, this is what ranks the most popular music in the world, at least for us Westerners.
Yeah.
So well, I don't know. It also, I guess, the state and the like communities help out to give us rehearsals easy and stuff like that.
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? We don't get any of that. So,
right.
And given that you guys have also got a much more condensed population than we do in Australia, say our national tour would be maybe 8 shows, but that also covers a landmass that is larger than Europe. You know, you guys are doing a national tour, it'd be substantially larger than just 8 piddly shows, yeah?
We could just walk. You know, no, but I mean, we actually, the last 8 years, we've only done like the big cities in Sweden, like Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. Maybe something else up north. Because we did this Eurovision qualifier thing, which is kind of a huge deal here in Sweden in 2009. I know Australia is also in the Eurovision.
Oh yes, we are. I know one of the our entrant a few years back. Her husband taught me to play guitar when I was a kid.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went to the finals in that. Our song 1,000 Miles was kind of a hit that summer. And, you know, we played everywhere, like every little town in the whole of Sweden. And then when Eric joined, him had just won Swedish Idol, you know, which also was a huge deal. We kind of kept going on that. And we played like everywhere for farmers in the countryside. It was like, then we kind of, now we've done everything. Let's just play like the big cities. But I'm getting kind of excited to go out into the countryside again and play like for a bunch of people. We'll see. It's definitely more accessible, I guess, than Australia.
Oh, absolutely. You'll be from one town to the next via plane and then gone, I suppose. Are you staying longer after you finish the tour, or is it straight back home?
We're coming before, I hope, like maybe 4 or 5 days before, to see. And I guess the first show is in Sydney, I think. So just stick around there for a couple of days and, you know, see the town. It would be awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you make sure you make John show you around the town. And
and
all. I mean, what are you looking forward to most about the Australian tour?
Playing the shows, for sure. I mean, every day, every night. Yeah, but I mean, every night playing now after the pandemic is just pure joy. It's amazing to be back on the stage. But amazing to see like the cities as well. As I said, I've been in Melbourne for a week before. It was great. Cool to see Sydney and Brisbane and the fourth city. I can't remember at the moment.
I think Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. Are you going to Adelaide or are you going to Perth?
Yeah, Adelaide. Yeah,
Adelaide. Yeah, poor old Perth always misses out, but that's what you get for being the most remote city in the world.
All right.
Look, mate, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
What's
next for H.E.A.T? I mean, you guys have got this album out now. You're busy promoting it all over the place.
Yeah.
Where do you go to from here? I mean, sounds like you're on the cusp of just that next level.
Yeah, I mean, we're working. We're always pushing forward, onwards and upwards. And I mean, just this near future, on this weekend, we're opening for Toto in Finland, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is pretty cool. And kind of a circle closed because our first big arena show was in Sweden, open for Toto in 2007.
Oh,
so
wow.
Really cool to play with them again. See Joseph Williams sing. That would be awesome.
Oh, fantastic. I'd love to check that out. I may well do at some stage. I'm being asked to come across in November. A friend of mine runs the Abyss in Gothenburg, and she's got the Abyss Festival that she wants me to come along to. So may end up over there again sometime.
Cool. You're very welcome.
Excellent. Look, thank you very much, Jona. I can't wait to see you guys out here. I'll be at the Brisbane show, and I'll come up and have a beer with you.
Nice. See you in a little over a month then.
So that soon. Awesome.
I think so.
All right, mate. You look after yourself, and I'll see you soon.
You too, man. Have a good one.